You know that moment when a conversation ends, but your mind doesn't? Everyone else seems to move on. The topic changes, the room gets quieter, but somewhere inside, a small question keeps circling. Not loudly, just quietly. Why do people think the way they do? Why do some things feel meaningful while others feel empty? Why do certain moments stay with you long after they're gone? For some people, these questions appear rarely, but for others, they feel almost constant, like a background current running through everyday life. And the strange part is, this tendency is often misunderstood. When someone spends time thinking about life, meaning, or the deeper reasons behind human behavior, society sometimes gives it a label: overthinking, being too serious, being lost in your head. It can make people feel like something is wrong with them, as if thinking deeply about existence or human nature is some kind of flaw. But what many people don't realize is that this impulse has existed for thousands of years, long before modern psychology, long before modern science, and it has a name: philosophy. But the real meaning of philosophy is rarely explained in a simple or honest way. Most people hear the word and imagine something complicated: ancient books, professors debating abstract ideas, difficult words that feel far removed from everyday life. But the original meaning of philosophy was never meant to be complicated. The word itself comes from two Greek roots: philo, meaning love, and sophia, meaning wisdom. So philosophy literally means the love of wisdom. Not memorizing theories, not proving who is right or wrong, just the quiet human desire to understand life more deeply. In psychology, researchers often talk about something called cognitive curiosity. It's the brain's natural drive to explore patterns, meaning, and understanding. Some people feel this drive more strongly than others. Their brains naturally search for connections. They reflect on experiences longer. They notice contradictions in human behavior. They ask questions most people pass by. Neuroscience studies have shown that when people reflect on complex ideas or personal meaning, certain parts of the brain become more active, especially areas involved in introspection and long-term thinking. In other words, philosophy isn't just an academic subject, it's a mental process, a way the human mind tries to make sense of existence. And this tendency often develops quietly over time. Sometimes it begins in childhood, especially for people who spent long periods observing rather than speaking. Children who watched how adults behaved, who noticed emotional shifts in the room, who wondered why people said one thing but meant another. Other times it develops after difficult or confusing life experiences, moments when simple answers stop working, when someone realizes that human behavior is more complicated than it first appears, that happiness isn't always obvious, that people can be kind and cruel, confident and insecure all at the same time. These moments naturally push the mind towards reflection, towards philosophy. Not because someone is trying to be intellectual, but because their mind is trying to understand reality more clearly. And it's important to say something here that people rarely hear. Thinking philosophically is not better than thinking practically. Some people move through life by focusing on action, routine, and immediate problems. Others move through life by reflecting on patterns, meaning, and long-term questions. Neither approach is superior. They're simply different ways the human brain navigates the world. But there's a quiet paradox that often appears with philosophical thinking. The same curiosity that helps someone see deeper meaning can also make life feel more complicated. Philosophical thinkers often notice contradictions others ignore. They see both sides of arguments. They question assumptions. They recognize uncertainty. And while that awareness can lead to wisdom, it can also create moments of loneliness. Because not every conversation welcomes depth, not every environment encourages reflection. Sometimes the world moves quickly, while a thoughtful mind moves slowly. Yet this slower pace is not a weakness. Throughout history,
Philosophy has never been about having all the answers. It has always been about learning how to ask better questions. Questions that help people understand themselves. Questions that reveal how fear shapes behavior, how meaning shapes happiness, how beliefs shape the way people treat each other. At its core, philosophy is simply the human mind trying to see life clearly. Not perfectly, just honestly. And if you've ever found yourself quietly reflecting on why people behave the way they do, or wondering what truly matters beyond routines and expectations, that doesn't mean you're lost in your thoughts. It simply means your mind is searching for understanding. And that search has always been part of what makes us human. The interesting part is, this curiosity often leads somewhere unexpected. Because once someone begins noticing how people think, how emotions shape decisions, and how hidden patterns guide behavior, they start seeing things most people overlook. And that's where psychology quietly begins to connect with philosophy in ways most people never notice. If this way of looking at the world feels familiar, there are many other hidden patterns about the human mind that start to make sense once you see them clearly.